Okay, 5:30. We can declare the meeting. I can declare the meeting open at 5:30 p.m. Welcome everyone. We've got councillors, we've got a large gallery, we've got lots of members of the public here in attendance. We've got all the officers, the great staff. So welcome. The meeting is officially opened at 5:30 p.m. Just even before I start with opening procedures, I'm just going to remind everyone tonight is a forum meeting. So this is not a decision-making night. This is question and answers only. We make decisions next week on Wednesday at the ordinary council meeting. So the idea is for councillors to get as much information, ask questions for all the items that are being presented. And just quickly, there's a lot of people here. There's a red clipboard around. If you haven't already signed it, can you please put your details on there so we know everyone who is in attendance. So item number 2 is opening procedures. 2.1 is acknowledgement of country. So I'd like to invite Councillor Mencelli to present the acknowledgement to country.
Thank you. The Shire of Northam would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Balladong and Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you. So item 2.2 is reporting of council meetings. So members of council are well aware, and members of the gallery, as members of the public who may not be aware, are advised this meeting is being live streamed and audio recorded, and it is made available on the Shire of Northam's YouTube channel. If members of the public would like to have access to the recording of this meeting, they can do so via the Shire of Northam website. Item number 3. Now, if anyone's looking electronically, we're on page 6, and I'll try and give you the page numbers as we go through. Item number 3 is attendance. So the councillors, so as I always do, I'll just go from left to right and say who's in attendance. So we've got Councillor Biglan, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Williams, Councillor Mencelli, President Antonio, Councillor Atherton, Councillor Polton, Councillor Hughes. We'll just get to apologies in a minute. And we have the CEO, the Exec Manager Engineering Services, Exec Manager Development and Community Services. So that's Ms. Terreling, Mr. Devsich, Mr. Hunt. Executive Manager Corporate Services, Mr. Young. Manager Governance and Risk, Ms. McCall. Governance Officer, Ms. Van Beek. And we have another addition. Who will be noted? Waste Project. Thank you. And that will be noted in the minutes. So item 3.2, apologies. We have an apology from Councillor Gierak. So item 3.3, approved leave of absence, that is nil. Item 3.4, absent, that is nil. So that's on page 7. Now we go to page 8. So item number 4 is disclosure of interest. So we do have a number of those. So I will just summarise those, and as the item comes up, I will deal with them at that item. So first one is 8.1 petitions. President Antonio, that is me, has a proximity interest in this. So the applicant of the rock quarry under comment of the provided provision is on neighbouring property. As a result of proximity and being a planning item, myself, President Antonio, is unable to partake in any discussion regarding this item. 8.1 petition. Councillor Mencelli has declared impartiality. The owner of the property where quarry is proposed is known to Councillor Mencelli. 13.1.1, which is lease agreement for 425 Fitzgerald Street, Northam. Old Northam Railway Station, reserved 31355 to the Northam Heritage Forum. Councillor Mencelli has declared impartiality. Members of the Heritage Forum are known to Councillor Mencelli. Councillor Polton has declared impartiality. Councillor Polton is a member of Nurture people on the Northern Heritage Forum are known to Councillor Polton. 13.1.1, same item, Councillor Hughes has declared impartiality. Some members of the Heritage Station are known to Councillor Hughes. Same item, Councillor Williams has declared impartiality. Members of the Northern Heritage Forum are known to Councillor Williams, and Councillor Appleton has declared impartiality. Members of the Northern Heritage Forum are known to Councillor Appleton. So that's 13.1.1. 13.1.2, which is request for variation to lease agreement for the Grass Valley Progress Association at Lot 21 Carter Street, Grass Valley. President Antonio, that's myself, has declared impartiality, is a member of the Grass Valley Progress Association, and his wife is the Secretary of the Grass Valley Progress Association. Councillor Mencelli has declared impartiality. Members of the Grass Valley Progress Association are known to Councillor Mencelli, and Councillor Williams has declared impartiality. Members of Grass Valley Progress Association are known to Councillor Williams. 13.3.1, which is retrospective approval, construction of a dam. Councillor Biglan has declared impartiality. The applicant is known to Councillor Biglan, along with both the respondents in the submission. 13.3.2, proposed closure of private road, lot 66, Inkpen Street, Northern. Councillor Hughes has declared impartiality. Councillor Hughes knows one of the adjacent land owners. And 14.3, which is a matter behind closed doors. So I'll deal with that. So we've got a councillor and an officer who have declared impartiality in that item. So I'll deal with that behind closed doors when that matter arises. So that's the disclosure of interest. So we now go to page 9. So item number 5 is announcements by the presiding member without discussion. So we take that as read. Then we go to page 11. So we have public questions. So what I do is I have a couple that are pre-submitted with answers. So I'll do those first. And then what I'm going to do, I will go to the general public. Can I ask if anyone is going to ask questions about the petition, please leave them until the end, because I will need to leave the room, and I will need to leave the room and hand over to Councillor Mencelli when we receive the petition as well. So just make sure if anyone's going to ask questions about the petition, please leave that until the end, and we'll deal with that as a semi-separate item. So the first prepared question or pre-prepared question for us is from Michelle Allardyce. The question is, has the Shire of Northern made any budget allowances for the repair, maintenance and upgrade of the Town Hall? If so, how much and within what timeline? If not, why not? So the answer, so it's quite long, so I'll just read that out. So part 1 is the Shire of Northern has an operational budget in the 24-25 budget year for the town and Lesser Hall of $33,649, as well as an allocation of $8,000 for routine maintenance works. During the previous financial year, the Shire spent $17,000 restoring the timber floor in the Northern Town Hall. Part 2. In addition, the Shire has a capital budget of $609,820 in the 2024-25 budget year for upgrade works and communications/data/audio-visual equipment for the facility. This is to accommodate the proposed relocation of the council chambers and other civic functions to the Lesser Hall to increase the accessibility, usability and safety of the facility. As a starting point, this budget will facilitate extensive investigative work both in the town and Lesser Halls and consultants, Hocking Heritage and Architecture have been appointed by the Shire to undertake a comprehensive building condition assessment of these halls. The assessment will consider the following: electrical, rewiring, HVAC, grounding and bonding, lighting, surge protection, emergency and safety systems, communication and data systems. Universal access assessment includes internal and external modifications, signage and wayfinding. Structural assessment, preservation of historical characteristics, structural analysis, drainage, which is roof and gutters, wall deterioration, water damage, foundation problems. Anticipated completion of this stage of the project is May 2025. The information obtained from this investigation will then be used to commence targeted facility upgrades, with the end goal being a compliant civic function centre in the Lesser Hall and the identification of upgrades and order of magnitude cost for the upgrades of the Northern Town Hall. The Shire is proposing to seek external funding to assist with the proposed upgrades to the Town Hall, and this work will assist with providing the basic information required to support grant applications. That's that one. So I'm going to do this one, which we've had pre-submitted for, and I've got question and answers for this. So our questions are directed to the Shire CEO and are in relation to the construction of dam in Mundowie wetlands that feeds Magnolia Creek, that is subject to Shire Council post-construction approval, item 13.3.1 of the current agenda. Due to short notice of the meeting be held, we are unfortunately away on business in Albany. Question 1. Has the Shire of Northern determined whether Section 18 approval has been gained under the Land Administration Act 1997 from the Minister for Planning, Lands and Heritage for this dam constructed in a freshwater stream? The answer: this is a separate and unrelated piece of legislation, and it is the responsibility of the landowner to ensure that they comply with all relevant legislation. An advice note could be placed on the approval of the application to advise the landowner of their obligations. Question 2. The site of the dam is an active earthquake zone, therefore significant potential exists for the rupture of dam wall causing catastrophic consequences for properties immediately downstream. Dam holding approximately 30 million litres. Has the Shire engaged a suitably qualified, chartered professional civil engineer to formally assess the risk this dam presents to the properties and lives downstream? No, the Shire has been working with the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation in relation to this matter. Next part of the question: has planning taken into consideration the potential litigation risks associated with approval of a non-engineered structure in the event of Lot 60 and 161 being sold? The answer is this is not a planning consideration. Question: would Northern Shire and ratepayers be liable for the costs associated in a potential adverse event? The answer is this is not a planning consideration. Question: has the Shire verified the accuracy of Mr. Coombs' report, drawings and wall heights? Is Mr. Coombs qualified? To what level qualification? While Shire officers have not consulted with an engineer, officers from the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation have been consulted and concur with the recommendations contained in the supporting information. Question 3. Has the Shire engaged a suitably qualified chartered professional civil engineer to formally assess and provide a construction adequacy verification for the compacted earth retaining wall, as is typically required under local government bylaws? The answer: compaction of retaining walls typically relates to construction of buildings. Then we're referring back to the answer in question 2. Question 4. Has the Shire requested an independent environmental impact assessment be conducted to determine if the environmental impact of the dam is significant? The answer: Shire officers have liaised with officers from the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation for expert advice. And I neglected to say that was from Sue and Roger Accord. So that was there. Now with the next one, I've got question and answers, but we just had a request that the information be provided to councillors while I'm doing that.
It's a handout.
So just a handout. So
It's 3 lots. Question. You can see back from when the, before it has been cleared at all. Sorry. So the first one is when, back in 1995, before it's been cleared at all. Next one is, after all the dams have been put in, when the river started flowing on the 1st of August last year. And the last one is one of Lake Lishanopia, the show of the length of the blue line is the same length.
So just been requested that all councillors have got that. So I'm just going to go through the question and answers for this one. So this is from Alison Accord. I'll read the name first this time. So Alison's questions are directed to the Shire CEO and are in relation to the construction of dam in Mundowie wetlands that feeds Magnolia Creek that is subject to Shire Council proposed construction approval, item 13.3.1 of the current agenda. Question 1. Is the Shire aware that directly downstream from the dam in question, there are 3 further dams in sequence that has Magnolia Creek rerouted through them, all of which, in brackets, in accordance to Rights in Water and Irrigation Act 1914, Section 17, end brackets, are illegal builds? So the answer is provided as officers have assessed the development application as submitted in accordance with the provisions of the Planning and Development Act 2005. The application was submitted following investigations in response to complaints regarding the subject dam. Question 2. Access to aerial images are now available on Landgate, displaying the 4 illegal dams at Lot 160 and 161. Total surface area of all 4 is approximately 60,000 megalitres squared. Have I got that correct?
Yeah, metres squared.
60,000 metres squared. I want to get that right. To make a comparison, that is half the size of Lake Lishanopia. Have all councillors been shown real images so they can see the enormity of the illegal structures? Then the question continues. On a summer's day, at an average evaporation rate of 8 litres per metre square is 480,000 litres per day. 60,000 metres 2 by 2 by 8. That's 480,000 litres of water per day lost in evaporation, far exceeding riparian rights water usage. It is within reason that the 3,750 semi-trailer loads of water could be evaporating annually from these dams in Magnolia Creek instead of flowing down and contributing to the Wooroloo Brook. Brackets, no, perhaps advising owners of Lot 160 and 161 the use of water tanks and troughs are much more efficient. End brackets, it is therefore possible that the evaporation from these illegal dams could sustain 48,000 sheep at 10 litres per day per sheep. Has the Shire investigated how many sheep actually graze on Lot 160 and 161, which combined is approximately 100 acres? The answer. The officer's report contains current and historical Landgate images. The property is zoned rural and the land use agricultural extensive, which includes raising of stock is a permitted use in the zone and therefore does not require development approval. Question 3. Does the council understand that Magnolia Creek is actually potable water? Is the Shire aware that Lot 8576 Fernie Road is not connected to scheme water? When we run out of rainwater in prolonged dry periods, we rely on the best fresh potable water from Magnolia Creek for washing, drinking and showering. Have preliminary details of soil and water toxicity / acidity tests been conducted so as to monitor ongoing water quality for our health and safety? The answer provided is water resources are shared and many landowners who do not have access to regulated water services rely on natural and imported water sources. No water quality testing has been conducted as part of the application process because the proposal does not propose to use the water for public drinking purposes. Question 4. Has the Shire engaged an environmental hydrologist to do an impact study on the changes to the wetlands and Magnolia Creek due to the retention of water in multiple dams? This includes the effect the loss of seasonal flow of water has on the wetlands downstream of Magnolia Creek on adjoining properties. Question continues, is the Shire aware that there is a very small readable amount of salt in the water of Magnolia Creek? Saline water is heavier than fresh water and therefore will accumulate at the bottom of the dam over time. The dam will go saline like most other dammed waterways in this region. The answer provided is Shire officers have liaised with officers from the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation to provide expert advice to inform the assessment and recommendations of the application. The primary advice was that whilst they do not support in-stream dams, that in this circumstance the most appropriate resolution was to ensure that the downstream flows are maintained. And then Alison thanks us for our time. Now, while we're on that topic, I do have one more question, or one more set of questions. So I'm just going to invite you up.
I'm going to provide the supporting letter for my third question.
Yep.
Good evening all. Yes, I've got, Martin Zeskis. I'm chair farmer with Elliot at the property below the dam. Roger and Food and the court lodged a submission to Shire. It contained a letter from a qualified civil engineer regarding the legal structure in Magnolia Creek on Lot 111 Sims Road. Letters have copies of this letter with me, and the Honourable Council would confirm that they have the opportunity to read this letter. Give me also an answer to the separate letter. And Ali's just passed on now, but I wish to supply a physical copy of the land area on which the legal structure is measurement, along with an image of Lake Legionella here. So as Honourable Councillors can use the slide comparison so that it's been passed around. Which you just received my third handout. May I please submit a letter from the second engineer containing the scope of work and estimated costing for civil remediation work at Wundowie Wetlands and Magnolia Creek at 160 Sims Road. Please note here that the engineer, Mr. Vandermeer, highlighted the letter, has highlighted the insufficient detail in the retrospective approval submission to give a retrospective approval.
Yep, so the answer to your question is you can submit it, you have, and we'll make sure that's in there and an answer is provided. So we'll take the answer to that on notice, if that's all right.
Awesome.
So, right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there is further public questions I'm aware of. There's two deputations, so I'll get to those in a little bit. And I'll just ask if there's any public questions about anything else apart from the petition. No other public questions? So is there any public questions about the petition? Is there public questions? There is? So what I'll do is I'll get Councillor Mencheli to take over with these questions about the petition.
I'd like to welcome the first person to the microphone, please.
Hi everybody, my name is Marika Grogan. State my interest. Yeah. We are one of the landowners to which a domain further going forward. So it mentioned in the council documents that there was someone that had submitted in support of the petition, and I was wondering who is that?
I'm afraid we can't disclose that information. That will be considered as a submission as part of the development application when the report comes before council, but we normally redact personal information.
Okay, so is that what it means when it says, petition submitter has confirmed that they are supportive of this being included as part of the schedule of submission?
Yes, so my understanding is that the petition didn't conform with the requirements under our standing orders, but instead the petitioner has asked that that be considered as a submission that was submitted prior to the closing period for comment on the application.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Is there anyone else wanting to say something? Question? If not?
Sorry,
Sorry.
can I ask another question?
Yes, you may, if you'd like to step up. Thank you.
I'm ready to go over it again. You have to excuse us if we don't.
Before you start, can you tell us what your name is, please?
Enrique Robin.
Oh, sorry, supplementary on that.
No, that's fine. Sorry. You have to excuse us, but we don't, there are some of us here that we don't understand how these proceedings work. So in regards to the petition, if the CEO, are we going to make a statement? Is there going to be questions out of that? Or is that for next week?
No, so the recommendation is that council receives the petition and that motion will be considered, that recommendation will be considered next week. And that the council will then, as we normally do with petitions, council would then request that I prepare a report for a future meeting that deals with that matter.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question I have is there an opportunity to ask questions in regard to the Grove Association of Land Use across from the tavern tonight? Is there someone has questions from the public on that?
Yes, I think if it relates to the item that's on the agenda, then yes, certainly people can ask a question about that if they'd like to.
Is that now? No, yeah, it's not me. Yeah, that's.
Okay, is there any other speaker in relation to the petition? If not, we'll go on to the other item that you're referring to. Grass Valley. Yeah. Sorry.
So do I ask the question now? Or?
Yeah, if you can just introduce yourself and.
No,
No, it's not in relation to the petition.
No, okay.
Established that. So perhaps the Shire President can come back into the room. Right, pick it. Please. Yeah, no more.
but not really.
So further questions on, not related to the petition?
Not related to the petition. My name is Millie Hester. It's with regard to the land lease extension at Grass Valley. So the question is, as a potential community conflict of interest, who are the mining companies that the Grass Valley Progress Association have approached for funding? And are any of them associated or involved with the proposed quarry at Grass Valley?
That's not information that the Shire has access to. That would have to be addressed with the Progress Association themselves.
Further questions from the public? No? Okay, so we're still on page 11. So we've got item number 7 is response to previous public questions taken on notice, and that's as per the agenda. So then we have item number 8, which is receiving of petitions, presentations and deputations. So I'm going to go out again first, Councillor Mencheli, because the first item is petitions. So I'll please.
we're looking at the receiving of the petition. Pardon? Are there any questions from elected members around the table in relation to the petition? Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Deputy President. So with the petition itself, it didn't conform. So this petition is going for submissions. If I got that right, CEO's comments with the previous question from the public.
No, so this petition we have determined does conform.
Does comply.
There was another petition received that didn't.
Okay. Councillors, are there any further questions in relation to the petition? No? We'll move on to Paul President back to the room.
Councillor Mincelli. So we are now on 8.2 presentations, which is on page 26. So we go to page 26. 8.2 presentations, we have nil. 8.3 deputations, we have 2. So I will go to the Northern Heritage Forum first.
My name is John May. I'm the chairperson for the Northern Heritage Forum Inc. Would like to put in a little bit of a statement in relation to the lease agreement, agenda item 13.1.1, the lease agreement for the Old Northern Railway Station. Reading through, we have noticed that as it has been mentioned with other groups as well, the lease term has been recommended at the 5+5 option. And other group have mentioned it would be for the grant funding opportunities, it would be for a 10-year, with a 10-year option. Basically, I'll read it as I wrote it on here. Council, so the Northern Heritage Forum Inc. would like to comment on the agenda item. We have discussed a couple of points within the committee and would like to follow feedback into a couple of possible limitations we would face. The policy, for the policy implications, property management, as I mentioned, for the 5+5 option, council may wish to increase the lease term to 10 years with a 10-year renewal option. The Northern Heritage Forum Inc. has been located at Old Northern Railway Station since it was formed. The Northern Districts Historical Society and its predecessors have been there since going back to the 1980s. As mentioned, the 5+5 will put hindrance to the growth of funding opportunities. Another issue would be some of the collection would require some substantial planning and resources to relocate. As would be aware that the locomotive and power grid and that sort of thing as well. Another point was the tenancy fee. There has been the tenancy fee, an amount equivalent to the cost of building insurance to be reviewed annually. We would require substantial volunteer efforts to ensure the opening of the Old Northern Railway Station, and with current user numbers, this fee would put a strain on the organisation's financials and volunteer efforts. The Northern Heritage Forum would also like to take the opportunity to thank Shire of Northern for its past and ongoing support that we have received.
Thanks, John. And to have a deputation from the Grass Valley Progress Association. I believe that's the only two I've got.
Evening all, most of you know me, Brandon Ledger. I'm also the chairman of the Grass Valley Progress Association. Basically, I just wanted to attend the meeting tonight so the council could see that there is representatives from the GVPA here. Obviously, we're requesting an extension to the lease that was granted 2 years ago, so lot 21 Carter Street, Grass Valley. There is a precedent set, or a number of precedents have been set. We also, when I say we, Grass Valley Progress Association lease Grass Valley Hall and have done since 1987. The lease on the hall has been 10 years, plus 10 years, plus 10, etc., etc. I can understand to a point where Shire would have given us a 5-year lease to begin with, but we have hit some hurdles immediately with such a short-term lease. So hence the application to have the lease extended to 10 years with an option for another 10, so that we can then follow the guidance that the community has given us from their feedback from various meetings that we've had, hard copy emails, etc., to develop the area to what their wishes are. And with a 5-year lease, we can't get funding. A couple of mining companies we have approached have just stated they won't get funding for small community groups that have a lease less than 10 years. So we're sort of in that position. So hence that's why we've asked Shire to reconsider or consider extending the lease to 10 years with an option for 10. And with that, I'm just asking council to follow the recommendation from your officer to increase the lease for 10 years to with an option for another 10. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, so I just want to make sure, just put it out to the members of the public, there's no other deputations? No? So then we're still on page 26. We have item number 9 is applications for leave of absence, not leave of questions, leave of absence. Is there any questions on this, councillors? No? So then we go to page 27. So item number 10 is confirmation of minutes. 10.1 is confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting held 26th February 2025. Any questions on these, councillors? No. Item 10.2 is notes from the council forum meeting, which is held tonight. So that'll be a new item next week. So we'll deal with the questions and the decision making on the notes from the forum meeting next week. Item number 11 is items brought forward to the convenience of those in the public gallery. Now, I did promise all the groups here that I'm going to bring them forward, but I'm going to bring them forward in an order that's about 2 items away. So I'm just going to continue as they are. So you're probably going to be held up for 30 seconds. So I apologise for that. So item number 12, and while I'm saying that, once your item has been dealt with, you're quite able to go without reference to me, or you can stay and enjoy our hospitality. So it's up to you. So people are free to go or stay at their own will. So item number 12, still on page 27, is reports of committee meetings. Item 12.1 is the Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting held 18th of February 2025. We have both the minutes and the recommendations. Before I invite Mr. Young up, I'll just see if there's any questions on it. No questions, so that's all right. So then we go to page 29. So item 13 is officer reports. 13.1.1 is lease agreement for 425 Fitzgerald Street, Northam. That's the old Northam Railway Station, reserved 31355 to the Northam Heritage Forum. Just to remind that councillors Williams, Appleton, Hughes, Polton and Mencelli declared impartiality in this item. So, and we'll read out a statement next week when we get to it. So, any questions on this, councillors? Oh, sorry. Thank you. We're going to get the CEO who's going to introduce this item. So this is something fairly new. So as well.
It's fine. Thank you, President. So this item, during the course of looking at the extension of the lease, so the lease expired in 30th June 2022, there was a renewal option of 5 years, which would have extended the lease through to 2027. The option hasn't been exercised to date. However, when we did look at that option being exercised, we then discovered that at the time we hadn't sought ministerial consent under Section 18 of the Land Administration Act to lease the property. As a result of that, the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage has advised that we actually need to do a new lease now. They won't consider an extension of the lease. So this proposal is for a new lease. It is proposed as per the council policy, which at the moment is 5 years plus 5 years. In relation to the costs, it's actually proposed that the Shire of Northam would cover the cost of the building insurance, the utilities, and also the preparation of the lease documentation as well. I'm happy to take any questions on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Councillor Hughes?
Why isn't we considering leasing it for 10 years plus 10 when we're under another recommendation considering one, which is tonight, for 10 years and 10 years?
Because the council policy currently says that our lease terms are 5 years plus 5 years. So when we get to the point where we are reviewing that policy, we can change that, but the Grass Valley Progress Association has actually specifically requested that amendment to their lease.
So just before I go to Councillor Mincelli,
Sorry, can I just add to that? So this item was also considered as a strategic council meeting where council provided the direction to renew the lease under the same terms and conditions. So we've taken that same approach in terms of the new lease. The previous lease was 5 years with a 5-year renewal option, so there's also that consideration as well.
So just going to follow on from Councillor Hughes then. If councillors wanted to move next week 10 by 10, can they do so?
Yes, that can be considered as an amendment.
Yeah. So, Councillor Mincelli?
My question was identical, Councillor Heath.
Yeah, Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. President. So, our questions tonight, or some of the petitions of community members, indicate that for the progress associations getting external funding, they require the certainty of 10 years minimum. It's the first time I've heard of it. I correct me if I'm wrong, but our policy has always been 5 that 5. Is that a new thing that the council is aware of, or I don't know if the officers would be aware of anything like that?
The officers.
Certainly fairly new information that we've been advised of. However, this is the second community group that has indicated this. So it is something that we'll be exploring as part of the next policy review in terms of increasing that term.
Further questions, councillors? Yeah, Councillor Bigelow?
The progress associations are required to pay their utilities. Why is the Northern, this one, being excluded, Northern Heritage Forum being excluded from paying theirs?
So the recommendation is basically to do a new lease in line with the previous lease that was taken to strategic. So that's why this is based off the same off the same lease. In terms of the charges, it is consistent with previous council decisions with respect to similar community groups that run, say, a tourism centre.
I'd also make the comment that I think the Progress Associations also receive income from the hire out of the hall, whereas I don't believe that the Heritage Forum receives income.
Possibly minimal in terms of entry for visiting the museum.
Further questions, councillors? No? So that's 13.1.1. We're now going to go to page 36. So 13.1.2, request for variation to lease agreement for the Grass Valley Progress Association at Lot 21 Carter Street, Grass Valley. Just a reminder that Councillor Williams, Councillor Mincelli and President Antonio, that's myself, declared impartiality.
Yes. And more. Since the meeting started, I've known who members are, so
Councillor Hughes will do that, and that'll be declared in our minutes and for next week's agenda. And it looks like Councillor Tolman as well.
Everyone's got big.
That's up to each councillor.
Yeah,
So, questions on this? Oh, no, declaration of interest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For you. For me, for you. Because you're in progress of actually,
Yeah, but that's up to you. So, yeah, so Councillor Bigland's declaring impartiality. Any questions, councillors? No? So no questions on that? Just want to make sure, because councillors are right, I just want to make sure that there's no questions on that. So now we go to page 43. And I will remember, I'm not going to invite the DevSec up because there's no item, so I did remember, so I'm going to remember this, because Mr Hunt's already beat me for the next one. For engineering services, 13.2 nil. 13.3 is development and community services, so we have our exec manager, Mr Hunt, here for this. So the first one we have is 13.3.1, retrospective approval, construction of dam. That's on page 43. And 13.3.1 is Councillor Bigland has declared impartiality, and Mr Hunt is going to introduce this to us.
Thank you, Mr President. In relation to this item, the application is for the approval of a dam that has already been constructed on lot 161 Sims Road. The property is zoned rural and consists of approximately 20 hectares and is currently used for the raising of sheep. The dam has been constructed in the creek line / wetland area known as Magnolia Wetlands. Complaints have been received from adjoining landowners regarding the construction of the dam and the potential impacts on the local wetlands and creek line. Council staff conducted a site inspection with the complainants and discussed the dam in questions and their concerns. The Department of Water and Environmental Regulation were notified of the dam being constructed and have investigated the matter. The advice from DWER is that a permit for the works would have been required, however they cannot issue retrospective approval. The department has issued formal warnings to the landowner regarding approval requirements for vegetation clearing and beds and banks permit requirements. A development application was required for the construction of the dam, however this was not obtained prior to the works being commenced. Development approval is required under the scheme as the local planning policy requires development approval for the construction of a dam that requires state approval. So in essence, it's been put in our process because it was required to have approval from the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation. In consultation with the department, the recommendation is to approve the retrospective approval of the dam with conditions requiring increase in downstream flows, construction of a secondary overflow pipe at a lower level than that existing, and to maintain downstream flows, which was the main concern of the department. In addition, conditions require the revegetation of a portion of the property.
Thank you. So we'll now have questions, which I think Mr Hunt will be the person answering more. Saw Councillor Ryan first, then Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. One of the recent sort of case that a bit of public attention to Jay as the Shire administration turned their mind to that particular case as to whether or not there's any implications for us. Because I believe there was another government department that's required to be notified, particularly when it comes to waterways and business heritage. So I was just wondering whether that we tick that off.
Another question in relation to the Aboriginal Heritage Act.
Yes.
Provisions. That is, I think that's one of the questions from the submitted earlier tonight. I think was referencing Section 18 approval, which under the Land Administration Act, but I think was actually should be the Aboriginal Heritage Act. So we'll provide a response to that for the next meeting as well.
Okay.
Councillor Hughes.
As summer comes along with this one, and they said they've got to lower the pipe, the water will flow through at a lower level. But once it gets to that, it's not going to flow anymore, where if the dam wasn't there, it would have still kept flowing. And people were going to run out of water downstream much earlier than they would have done.
I'm trying to figure out the question in that, sorry.
Oh, how come they're allowed to just put a drain there lower when it's really not going to work? Because it's still going to stop, especially during summer, where if there wasn't any dam there at all, the water would have kept flowing way past that lower pipe.
So I'm going to rephrase
It's
that, Mr. Hunt.
put the question.
I'm going to rephrase that, Mr. Hunt. The way I understand that is that the recommended approval has got more adequate flows for downstream. Are they sufficient enough to replace what the natural creek would have been like? That's the way I understand the question, Councillor.
Look, I think the answer to the question is no, it's not going to be the same as what if a dam wasn't there.
Right.
That's the bottom line. It's just in consultation with the Department of Water and Environment Regulation, we are trying to get a better outcome for the downstream users by lowering that pipe. But yeah, there is a significant impact on the street.
Another question.
Yeah, Councillor Hughes.
Why aren't they made to pull it out? Put it back to where it was?
In consultation with the department, we believe by doing that could cause further damage and issues rather than trying to increase the downstream flows.
Councillor Bigland.
Thanks, Mr.
I
President.
saw your hand up, sorry.
I have several questions. Given that the LPPT states that dams must be off-stream and must maintain natural water flows, how does this retrospective dam comply, considering the thoughts of downstream flooding and reduced water quality?
Yes, in the end, it doesn't comply, as I said before, in consultation with where we're trying to get a better outcome than the work that was taken without approval.
Question 2. LPP2 requires that no clearing of riparian vegetation occurs during dam construction. NCEWA has already issued warnings for unauthorised clearing. Should retrospective approval be granted or should stricter compliance measures be imposed?
Sorry, what the base of the question was?
Again, LPP2 requires no clearing of the riparian vegetation, and we know it has been all cleared. And DEWA has also said that shouldn't have been any unauthorised clearing. And yet we are asking the council to consider approval for something that is not approvable in our own policy.
It is retrospective approval, and it is a variation to council policy, which council has the ability to vary policy provisions. Yeah.
We'll probably leave any further question on that one for debate. Yeah.
The policy also states maximum wall height of 1 metre and a surface area limit of 25 metres squared. But this dam exceeds these limits. What justification is there for approving it under our policy? And what are we going to do about modifications?
I think that's covered in the officer report in terms of what we're doing about it. And it's saying before, mentioned previously before, we're trying to, I guess, get a better outcome than what would be if we didn't issue approval. And also the issue is if we didn't issue the retrospective approval with the lowering of the overflow pipe, there will be more impacts for the downstream users.
Considering Magnolia Creek is a riverway, creekway within within the wilderness thing, and you've touched on that by putting in the recommendations that you lower the pipe, and having also discussed with civil engineer, and in line with Councillor Hughes' comments, the lower pipe is not going to solve anything because the water is already they've obviously dug the dam out to a significant level below the water running underground. So also by removing the dam, you can do that safely. in time, so I'm concerned that we are.
Question.
My question is, again, why are we being asked to approve something that we can potentially change?
Yeah, I think that's covered in the officer's recommendation and the answer to the several of the questions I've had tonight, but I think council, as with any decision, doesn't have to follow the advice of the officers. They can have an alternative recommendation.
I'll go councillor Ryan's got his hand up.
If, after debate and discussion, council doesn't approve it, what happens? Or what's the risk? What's if we don't approve it and retrospectively, what are the ramifications of that? Please.
It would be an illegal development, and we would have to consider, I guess, compliance action under the relevant legislation, Planning and Development Act, which may require the removal of the dam if that's the direction that the legal action takes.
Councillor Bigland.
Maintaining adequate downstream water flow is a key concern. Has an independent hydrologist assessment been conducted to confirm that the dam will not negatively impact water availability for neighbouring properties and the local ecosystem?
The independent consultant has been engaged, as it was mentioned in the response to several of the questions from the landowner. We've engaged with DWER or the Department of Water Environmental Regulations throughout the process. An independent consultant has been engaged.
Another question, councillor Bigland.
One more question. You're referring to DEWA, however you want to know it. However, we haven't seen any documentation in relation to their comments or their recommendations provided.
I think we can sort that for the meeting, please.
Got Councillor Mancelli first.
Yeah, my question relates to the Rights in Water and Irrigation Act 1914. Is that something that council would have considered in any way, shape or form? I know you've indicated that it's purely a development application, but would that particular act, 1914, it's pretty ancient, have an impact in any way, shape or form?
That would be something that the Department of Water and Environmental Regulations would administer, and I guess that's when we're saying that they would have issued a permit, would have been potentially under that act.
Right, this is Councillor Ryan.
I did hear Mr. Hunt say that the opponent has been notified for some water about clearing without the appropriate permits. That's correct.
From the Department of Water and Environmental Regulations, that's correct.
Sure. Right. So, what is the officer's view with, or Shire's view, at the administration level, of the opponent's attitude to comply with any of the directions that we give them for the standard?
I believe the officer in their report has stated they've been willing to work with the local government. They have been they're willing to undertake that additional work. That's correct.
Further questions, councillors? I've got Councillor Polton first, then Councillor Bigland.
Has a impact assessment been from the photos provided? It seems like that's the burden of the wetland being approved.
Just trying to get a question out of that.
No, an environmental impact that hasn't been undertaken or a consultant appointed, as I mentioned before. We have been liaising with the office of the Department of Water and Environmental Regulations throughout the process.
Councillor Bigland. Other questions? It's probably it's probably a hard one to answer. So, what's to if we did approve this as recommended, what's to stop other retrospective requests coming in, like especially from rural properties putting in dams, then saying, "Oh, we now need approval."
I'm not sure how to answer that.
I thought it might be hard to answer.
We can't stop people from undertaking works without the correct approvals being in place. You know, you deal with them as they get presented to us.
And just on that, I think in page 58, I put down page 58, 3.3 in the zoning table. I think there was a comment the officer made of something about there's no dams in this. I was just thinking, is that something when we next do a policy review that council should be looking at, if we're missing dams? Or did I pick up something from Councillor Bigelow? So I'll ask that first. On page 58, I'll just go to page 58. .3 zoning table. Whilst dams are not specifically listed in the zoning table, they can be considered as an incidental development. I'm just thinking, is dam something we should be considering next time we do a policy review? Or would that help with that?
I think it would in terms of including whether it's in a zoning table, but maybe a more robust policy would be required. So we can certainly review that as part of the ongoing policy review of council.
Thanks, that's probably not quite related to this item, but thanks for your consideration. Other questions, councillors? No, Councillor Bigelow hasn't thought of a question. So, Mr. Hunt, we're going to go to page 65. And this is 13.3.2, proposed scheme amendment 13.3.2, sorry. Proposed closure of private road, I'm getting ahead of myself, lot 66 Ingpen Street Northern. Just a reminder the councillor used declared impartiality in this item, and Mr. Hunt's just going to introduce that for us. Please.
Yeah, okay. In relation to item 13.3.2, proposed closure of the laneway. Lot 66 is a former laneway, known as laneway 12/14, the Shire of Northern Laneway strategy, that appears to have been developed in the original subdivision of the area. It was developed and used as a laneway, however it is understood that it was physically closed due to antisocial behaviour. That was, I think, roughly in around 2007-2008. The land in question has not been used as a physical laneway for a number of years, and various parts of the former laneway have been utilised by adjoining landowners without any formal agreements being in place. As the land that comprises the former laneway has now been transferred to the Shire of Northern, formal action to close the laneway can now commence. Further negotiations will continue with the adjoining landowners to formalise the closing of the land. And this report just seeks to take that first step in forming closing it. The land was owned by the Department of Communities. Originally, the day before, we believe, was when they government subdivided the land originally. They didn't transfer it over to the of their titles, so they transferred it to us in 2020.
Thank you. Good summary. Thanks. Councillor Mancelli has a question.
Yes, query in relation to the laneway itself. It's actually closed off at both ends, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, it has been. It's been physically closed off and sort of it's informally incorporated to some of the adjoining landowners' property.
Further questions, councillors? Councillor Baldwin?
Mr. Shine considered reopening the laneway.
No, all the recommendations have been to close it. It's been, as I say, physically closed the laneway for 15 years. Laneways like that were constructed in the, I guess, the early 70s, and a lot of them have gone through because of the antisocial behaviour of, people accessing the backyards, etc. So throughout the state, a number of similar ones have been closed.
Further questions, councillors? No, so we go to page 77. So 13.3.3, proposed scheme amendment 23, Avenue Industrial Park, stage 4. Just going to request Mr. Hunt just go through a quick summary of this one, please.
Yeah, in relation to this item, Council in September 2024 initiated the scheme amendment to rectify several zoning anomalies, and to expand the area of the Abbott Industrial Park. Following the advertising of the 10th Amendment, it's now being presented to Council for final approval. The expansion of the Abbott Industrial Park is consistent with the objectives of the Shire of Northern Local Planning Strategy. The area of the industrial park that is being expanded is owned by the state government and is predominantly cleared land. Issues associated with traffic management and upgrading of the intersection with Great Eastern Highway will be addressed as part of the subdivision approval process for the next stage of the industrial park.
Good summary. Questions, councillors? It was such a good summary, Mr. Hunt, that no one's got any questions. So now we go to page 357.
This is another laneway, known as, I guess, laneway 10 in the adopted laneway strategy. This one, however, has been unconstructed, has been looking at aerial photographs for the construction for a number of years. It actually exists between Morell and Albert Street, and then there's a separate section to the northwest of Albert Street. It's a historical laneway that's never been constructed or used as a laneway for a significant period of time. Approximately only 2 metres wide, so we're not sure what the intent was, whether it was too narrow for a light car lane, and what are they in service for some reason. Although the laneway is still in private ownership, although the laneway, it's still in private ownership, again, from the original subdivision, that goes back a number of years. Several adjoining property owners have fences or have developed over the laneway and we're probably not aware that it exists. Approach has been made from one of the adjoining landowners to close and amalgamate a portion of the laneway. And again, this is the first step in the process to formally close the laneway, and then we can start negotiations with the adjoining landowners.
Just a reminder, I forgot to read out the title of it, so it's fair someone's listening to it. It's Closure of Laneway 10 and 150 Albert Street. Any questions, councillors? Yep, Councillor Bolton.
With respect to population growth in the future, we would expect to see at some point of these properties being subdivided and infill taking place in the town of Northern. Is closing these to approve it?
Sort of question, yeah, I would close it prematurely. Well, I think it's a 2 metre wide access way, 2 metre wide alley, potential right of way that has been used at that for a number of years, and it will be too narrow now with current standards to be used for anything else.
So further questions, councillors? I'd like to thank Mr. Hunt for the good summary and question and answers on that. So we're going to go to 13.4 corporate services, page 363. So I'm going to invite the Exec Manager Corporate Services, Mr. Young, up, just in case. Probably doesn't need the summary so much of these items. It's probably more about questions if there's questions. So the first one we've got is on page 363, which is 13.4.1 accounts and statement of accounts, February 2025. Councillor Minchelli did have a question on that. That's been answered, but not everyone been provided. So no, that's all right. Can you recall that one from Councillor Minchelli? So just to provide a real quick summary of that, so everyone's aware, please.
Yes, Councillor Minchelli's question was relating to not going the superannuation breakdown within the signed off accounts payments. And we're now, instead of being shown there, it's actually shown as a separate within the declaration table. And that's a direct result of moving to our new payroll system, Affinity. And it does comply with the financial regulations. It is just shown in a different way. It's no longer done within the Shires and ERP or Synergy, which is why it's not shown.
Councillor Ryan.
Just on page 372, just in regards to Navigator photographic on Australia Day, what was that actually for, the breakdown of that? Yeah.
Further questions, councillors? No, so then we go to page 400. So 13.4.2, monthly financial report for the period ending 28th of February 2025. Questions on this, councillors? I do have a couple that I'll email, and just minor admin ones, Mr. Young, so I'll just quiet. I will ask one, if that's all right. So on page 401, page 405, capital grants on page 401 is under, show it's under. I'll just go there myself to make sure I'm right. 401, there's a comment saying that capital grants is under budget. Then on page 405, the total operating revenue is 8% under budget, various actuals to budget. I just wanted to confirm that the comment about capital grants being under budget directly relates to that 8% being below budget.
Yes, that there is predominantly what it is. Year to date, capital transport revenue is 3.4 million. So far the revenue has been 1.8 million. The difference between that is capital grants are directly related to our programs.
Thank you. I'm sure that was answered. Just wanted to confirm it. And indulge me, please, on page 412, the acquisition of assets. You'll see the 24-25 budget is 13.6 odd million. 24-25 to date is 2.9 million. And we've just done a half yearly budget review. So we've got March, April, May, June. We've got 4 months left. Are we going to reach budget, especially with those projects, which might be directed towards Mr. Dempsey more than Mr. Young?
Look, certainly some of them, when it comes to roads program, we've just like 2 tenders for that. So I would expect the majority of them to be carried out by the end of the financial year. There is some of the capital expenditure, like the Lesser Hall, the lighting at Burt Hawk, and some other projects that I wouldn't expect to get up. But certainly we won't do 100% off them, but we would hope to at least get up by 60 to 70%.
Thank you. So I've asked my question. Sorry, councillors, is there any more questions on 13.4.2? No? We've got one more for you, Mr. Young. So we're on page 421. Yeah, so we've got 13.4.3, RFT 02 of 2025, Burt Hawk lighting. Are you able just to provide a quick summary of this, Mr. Young, please?
Yes. This is to replace adequate new lighting for the cricket at Burt Hawk Oval. Basically, we went out to tender in February of 2005. We have assessed the tenders and come up with our recommendation for council on one of the tenders. The lights are fully compliant for club cricket, and so we've assessed it. We've had an assessment carried out, detailed design by a consultant on the lights at all Buckley's Point. At present, it is coming in on the budget, so what we represent the council is low budget, and we would like council to accept this motion. It wasn't our first choice. Our first choice was by the same supplier, but it was a different and alternative submission. The alternative submission didn't have tick off that net assurance damage, which is why we went with more expensive submission.
Thank you. So any questions? Yeah, Councillor Wright.
The company that we're proposing to engage, are we capable of doing some background checks to see their other projects that they've done and whether or not there's been overruns on those projects and how much it overran by?
it would be, I'm not sure that if we can check to see if there's been an overrun. Certainly they have done quite substantial works within local government, so it may be possible for us to reach out to them. But we'll certainly look into it.
Councillor Shelley?
Yeah, I think there was a referee report from Venue West, is that right?
That's correct, yeah, we do some reference checks as part of the qualifying, as part of the qualifying criteria. We request evidence of similar projects and we also obtain some references as well. So I wouldn't confirm whether there has been overruns, but yeah, definitely we do our due diligence in making sure that the company is capable for sure.
Further questions, councillors? Yeah, Councillor Bigland?
Are the lights LED or are they?
Yeah, so it's four 30-metre poles with about 32, I think, LED lights there. And they come with a pretty whiz-bang system that's a lot more interactive than anything we've seen in the Shire before, where we can turn on, off, limit, so you can dim them. So they're quite practical.
Further questions, councillors? Yeah, Councillor Hughes?
What was the problem with the cheapest or the cheaper one?
It wasn't signed off that it complied with Australian standards for nighttime cricket for club events.
Further questions, councillors? No, thanks, Mr. Young. Oh, sorry. Councillor Bradford.
Was that same supplier given the opportunity to reapply in the same way that Kalamunda Electrical did?
The lower.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a submission from the same company. So they're slightly lower price. I think it was maybe 5%, less than 5% difference in the submission that we went for, but it was by the same company. They just did an alternative submission.
Yes, I think the question more so was the lower priced offer or tender allowed to go back and do further work on their submissions? No, that would be breaching the procurement regulations. The tender process, we would be allowed to do that.
So further questions, councillors? Thanks, Mr. Young. Very good summary. Now we're going to go to page 434. Now we're going to have matters behind closed doors. So can I please have someone move this recommendation? Oh, I saw Councillor Atkinson, Councillor Polson. Straight to the vote. So all in favour by show of hands. Councillor Bigland. All this. So next, let's go.
Turns off. Yeah.
Back on now.
Cameras back on now, I'm just waiting for members of the public to come back in, so. I have lots of members of the public from the back. Members of the public have come from behind closed doors, so we're now on page 434, which is item number 15. Motions of which previous notice have been given, that is nil. Item number 16, urgent business approved by decision, that is nil. Item number 17, declaration of closure, is made at 6:53 p.m. I'd like to thank all councillors for the questions, officers, well-measured answers, and members of the public for participating. And we're making decisions next week.